And we're live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am here with my good friend on Business Spotlight, Wesley Leblanc. Wesley, give us a little bit of an introduction on what you do, what companies you own, and take it from there.
Yeah, so I've got a couple different things that I do. First and foremost, it takes up most of my time now, and which is the newest adventure, is a semi truck dealership over here in Florida. So that's what brought me to Florida and got me a little bit closer to you. So,
There you go.
uh, so I got a used semi truck dealership. We buy and sell used semis um, over basically between Lakeland and Orlando, Florida. And then I've got two businesses in North Carolina that I have a go kart racing business, which we build racing go karts, engines, sell parts, kind of service, kind of the whole gamut of things go kart racing related. And
Mhm.
then I've got a little powder coating shop with some partners in North Carolina as well that we had picked up during the pandemic, actually. So kind of went with the racing business, but it's more of a commercial shop. So do a lot more commercial work there than we do anything. But
That's cool.
and run those two remotely with my wife. She does most of that on a day to day, and I kind of try to problem solve and put out fires and fun things like that. And then I'm at the truck shop every day. I mainly do the purchasing and handle as much of the back end kind of fulfillment side of the business. Checking with my mechanics, checking with my detail crews, and just get everything turned around so the trucks can get on the lot and out the door.
Nice. What was the first business that you owned here?
So the first one would be the racing business, and I started that from scratch. So that was about 10 years ago. Now is when I went official with the go kart racing business. Before I had that, I had a racing business that was in go kart racing, more of just like a service business. I provided services for folks and sold some parts and stuff like that. Back in from 2005, six, somewhere around there,
Yeah.
till about 2011, and then 2012 and half 2013, I took a break and got into those were part-time businesses, and then I kind of wanted to explore not having any racing business and just got into the insurance industry and kind of enjoyed that for a little while and decided to go back full-time racing in 2000 into 2013, and then from 2014 on until 2020, I was full-time racing. So that's what brought me to North Carolina. We moved in that time, had more kids, and then moved down here to Florida last year, almost a year ago now, with the truck adventure, and had another kid. So it's becoming a trend, but hopefully many more businesses and no more kids. That's the
That's
plan now.
oh, that's great. Um, so then you had the powder coating, and
Yeah.
the truck is the most recent.
Yeah. So the powder coating got stuck in there in 2020. It was kind of like up until 2000, into 2018, racing was all we did, and we also raced a lot. So I still did all the services side as well. I was taking people to the racetrack every weekend, running a full-fledged racing operation. My kids were getting a little bit older, starting school, starting sports. So 2019, we started not traveling. They started sports, and then that's when I started like, okay, what's the next steps? Let's get outside of racing, maybe diversify a little bit. That led me to the powder coating shop and wanting to expand on the whole like fab and machine side, which I still want to do more of. It never did materialize back then. The powder coating shop is running. It's just not, it's just kind of stagnant. So looking to maybe, sell it off and put the efforts into something else, more into the truck shop or more into the racing shop, just because we're not in North Carolina anymore. And that's a little more local style of a business. We've got a smaller radius of customers and stuff like that. So probably going to do something to go ahead and exit from that at some point in time this year, and then focus the effort on the truck shop, which is really a bigger industry and a bigger way to make a bigger impact.
Got it. So, what would you say to somebody that wants to start multiple different businesses or own and operate multiple different businesses that are not really related.
Right. So that's my new biggest task, right? Everything was kind of integrated up until I got into the truck deal. So obviously, just having a little bit of mechanical background and being around vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I understand trucks and a little bit about them, but not knowing anything about the industry was a big challenge. So big learning curve. And being that I was going to be the person that was going to like directly take on the buying of the trucks, that made it even steeper because of just I got to learn all the specs, I got to learn all the brands, I got to learn all the applications, and it's not like a pickup truck where it's like, oh, just pick which one you like. It's very specific to what they're hauling, where they're hauling. Obviously you've got your guys that like certain brands, certain specs with those brands, certain engine manufacturers. So just a lot more to learn. But as far as more general, getting into a different industry, because that was something that definitely was different. I would say make sure whatever your primary is, you really detach first. So that was one thing that I was able to do. I started detaching from my other businesses in like 2021, like mid to late 2021. So all of 2022, my whole goal was just to find another business to acquire. And we wound up doing that, and closing in August of last year. So, but if I wouldn't have detached first, there's no way I could have. I don't understand how I could have made it happen. It's not clear at all. So definitely, if you're interested in moving in a new industry, set yourself up to where you can detach from your current one more, and about whether that's people, processes, or just I talk to other people like in the AP group that I'm in that want to do more acquisitions. They just sell it off, like they exit one and then they start a new industry, clean slate. So that's not bad. But if you want to do multiple at one time, definitely have the first one or the existing one or ones kind of way more automated as far as your time and resources. And I don't necessarily, now that I've done it, I'm not going to say that it's better being in multiple industries. People talk about like diversifying and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily better. I only moved in it because it was a way for me to get into a bigger market. For less money out of pocket. Manufacturing is very CapEx expensive, right? It's a lot of equipment. It's a big footprint. It's a lot of labor. So I tried to find the bigger fish in that sea, and I couldn't put it together. And this was more transactional and a little less cash dependent in comparison. So it got me into this because of that, not because I was just hell bent on being in a different industry. But as always, different businesses are built different. They're not all equal. So there are some better industries I feel like to be in, and even within each industry, obviously you got better parts of it. So that's another thing that I've got a whole runway to explore with other pieces of the trucking industry. We're one little bitty specific piece right now, and obviously it's a very big industry. So it makes it nice to know that there's like a ton of runway there, because with my racing businesses, I was always just limited by market size. There's only so many people that race go-karts. Of that, we're only going to get so much market share. So that was what got me like thinking about getting bigger and moving, beyond. So, but it's very difficult. It's stressful. Luckily my wife can kind of be the operator for the other ones, and she does a really good job with it. But if you want to do it, it's going to take a team of people and having some really key people in place to be able to do it.
Got it. And so was she a business owner prior to this, or no? We kind of taught her the ropes.
No, I mean, just since we've been together, right? So whenever we got together was right when I was starting the go-kart business. So she's kind of been along for the ride with that. She's got experience, kind of operating some small businesses and helping with that. And then she's got a little bit of a bookkeeping background as well. So she doesn't have specific, but she very much picks up on concepts and ideas real quick. And then I tried to play the part of, hey, the teacher. And so luckily it did work out pretty well. I mean, I've had my core group of guys that really like do a lot of the work within the shops and get all that done. So I really just had to teach her more of like the system side of the business, from an accounting standpoint and from an ordering standpoint and inventory and all those metrics. But she's super good at customer service. Most people would rather talk to her than me anyway, so that makes it easy. And then, I can just hone in on the real technical stuff whenever they need help or whenever customers need help. And then I get to look more into the strategic side, which is what I really like to. I mean, everybody kind of, I'm not going to say everybody, but I think a lot of people like that because it's like exciting. But I do think it's somewhere where I actually can put a little bit more impact in at the end of the day for the business.
Nice. And what were some of the biggest mistakes that you made and you learned from, and how did you overcome them?
Business wise or just in general?
You can do both.
I mean, obviously, business affects everything, right? So,
yeah.
Honestly, it goes right back to what I'll say, because I'm like the dreamer and the big plan. It leaves me very vulnerable to the details and the granular. So just like with the trucking business is a good example. I just didn't do enough diligence in a lot of ways, right? I didn't do enough diligence on the deal. I didn't do enough diligence on the people, and I didn't do enough diligence on the, what the business really did at the end of the day. What drivers really drove the business. So that, like I said, I looked at it as three ways: the deal itself, the people I had involved, and then, like I said, the drivers of the business. And in the beginning, I didn't understand that well before we got the deal done, and then it showed further down the road. Luckily, we had a rough transition, and it's really just sucked. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. We've had a lot of things that went wrong because of lack of due diligence up front, and got it all right. It got it turned around, and actually probably a lot for the better now, because within all that, understood really the drivers of the business. Then we could put in the right systems and processes to make sure those things move. So I probably would have never been able to do that without things going bad. Or it would have taken me a lot longer, right? Because I mean, obviously, when everything's on fire, you get creative real fast. So we've been able to like overcome a lot of adversity that we didn't really see before we were here. So I would definitely say due diligence in business, the businesses you're looking at, the people you're looking at, even vendors. I mean, just a lot of CYA. So that's probably the biggest one, just in general. And then I would say, through my other businesses, because this is very much, taking this on was different. This is a totally different type of business than what I've been involved with before. Relating more to my other businesses, I didn't put enough emphasis on the business structure and processes, like systems and processes. We're putting in a MRP right now in my go-kart business, which is like an ERP, but it's manufacturing resource planning. I waited way too long to do that. I should have done that years ago. We're doing it now. Not understanding to a very finite degree accounting principles, bookkeeping, just even like things that you've talked about with how loan structures work and how banks operate, like what they look at, and just there's the very granular things that if you're in a business because you're good at doing something a lot of times, but you're not necessarily educated on the rest of the business and how the rest of that works. I spent a lot more time trying to understand those other things. Like I'm really good at building go-karts, but I was not really good at running a business. And so I'm trying to get better.
Dude, I love that. And I love that you came out and said that, because most people take 15, 20, 30 years or fail over and over before they figure that out.
Yeah. It's like somebody, I can't remember who, it might even been Andy, but it's like the more you know, the more you know you don't know. And it's like every day, it's just like constantly learning more, and then learning that, hey, just the more I know, the more I don't know. So how can we just keep making it better. I mean, at the end of the day, that it's just a constant improvement. You know, I struggle a lot because I'm like I said, I try to be the big thinker. My mind goes to that a lot, and then at the same time, I've got to be like in the dirt. Like I'm the guy that's got to like go put my hands on it and actually do it to understand why it's not working or how we can make it better. So I'm very much like way up or way down, and it kind of, it's tough sometimes, but at the end of the day, like I said, just try to do things better and try to make things better. Um, I've in the past year, since kind of really got into it's been a year since I started, when I very first heard about this business, and then from then closing the deal, all the bad, turning around to now. I try to always tell myself, I found this quote, it's never as good or as bad as it seems. And it gets tested a lot. It's been tested a lot. So I try to keep that and try to, stay level headed. That's another key I think in business. The more stress you can take and still be productive, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. I tell my guys all the time, when things are going bad, you're not as bad as you think you are.
Right.
Things are going great, you're not as good as you think you are. You just got to stay even and keep putting in the work.
Yeah.
So now that you've started a business from scratch and you've also bought a business, if you were to do another business, would you start from scratch or buy?
I mean, obviously the trend right now is to buy. I mean, with the baby boomers, retiring and with small business becoming as easy to transact as real estate is in a lot of ways now, that's the trend. I think there's a huge benefit to buying, but I also think there's a huge learning curve and database that you get by building. So I think there's not a right answer. I think it depends on where the person's at and their skill set. But I'd have to lean towards buying still, because you're buying their learning a lot of times. As long as you're an open sponge, you're buying the mistakes they made and learn from it. And so, some people would rather do it themselves and learn it themselves. And like I said, I think there's a huge appreciation for that. I'll always have the knowledge that I learned from building something organically and not knowing. But now I'm in a season where I'm learning from other people more. And I think that is definitely a higher ceiling maybe to where you can go. But you just see different things, and it's, I guess, it's different strokes, different folks mentality. I can appreciate like what First Form is and what Andy's done, because that to me, that's like my go-kart business, right? It's like, it's organic, it's building, and he's obviously done it on such a level, it's almost unreal. Watching him 10 years ago and where they were, it's awesome. And then at the same time, being able to appreciate the buy side too, and seeing people that have been super successful with that, and have an appreciation for that as well. So I think it depends on the type of person you are, but I think it's a lot easier for folks to get into owning a business by buying now versus building. But if you're really good at something, building the business around you is easier than it's ever been. I mean, you've got marketing at your hands, you've got resources at your hands. We've got all these these ERP cloud-based software systems that before would cost $50,000 a year to run on a server. Now we can pay a couple $100 a month and run them from anywhere. So the resources to build a new business, to me, is also they're definitely more resourceful now than they've ever been.
Yeah, the barriers of entry are way lower on most businesses.
Yeah. And I just, but that's, I mean, you got, like I said, you got really good points on both sides whenever you look at buying versus building. I think it goes back to really just what the goal is. Most people right now want to buy cash flow. Like they want a business to make money, and a business should make money, but they're looking at it as a cash flow alternative to real estate in a lot of ways. Some people look at it to like get out of their day job but most people that have like getting out of a day job to own a business is, as you and I both know, is probably the opposite of what most people think it is. So
Yep.
I don't see that nearly as much. Now there's some people that do it, absolutely, but I see it much more as people replacing cash flow and seeing the upside of having a business, say, versus real estate. If you're willing to put that much more effort, because obviously there's a lot more effort in a business than there is in most real estate plays. So I think I think there's a lot of opportunity. That's for sure.
I 100% agree with that. What advice would you give somebody looking to purchase their first business?
I would definitely say, learn as much as you can from other people that have done it, because it's really easy to get really excited and make mistakes. Because I mean, I did it. I did it in other deals that fell through, and now I look back on it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that fell through because I see the mistakes I was going to make. And then obviously I did it. I've done it. I've acquired or been a part of an acquisition of 3 different businesses now, and make mistakes in every one, right? So that's going to happen. It's just trying to mitigate that risk. Kyle and Michael's course that they have is a great tool to just learn the basics and understand how a small acquisition works. And then, from there, once you get the acquisition done, that's like, to me, that's like, everybody's like, that's the finish line. That's just the starting line. That's day one. And then running the business is a whole nother adventure. So, advice for getting the acquisition done is find somebody that's done it. There's a lot of people that's willing to help. I've helped a few people with acquisitions to the degree I can, right? Like nobody knows it all, but I know maybe a little bit more than somebody that's never done one. So I think there's a lot of people willing to help. There's even more people starting to try to put out courses and content on it. And I don't think that money is spent bad. Like paying somebody a couple grand to learn it is really worth it if you can go buy a business that's going to cash flow you a couple $100,000 a year. So don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money to learn so you don't make those mistakes trying to acquire a business. That'd probably be the biggest piece of advice. Like I said, outside of that, it's like what I was saying earlier, just do a lot of due diligence, and that's the same thing. It's prevent mistakes.
Yep. I always tell everybody, have a long due diligence period. The LOI and your financing, because it takes time. People want to close on these businesses in 30 days, 60 days. It doesn't take that. It takes way longer than that.
Right. Yeah. So this deal went very fast, and I consider it was shorter than what I wanted to do, but I was trying to obviously get the deal done and appease. There was a lot of people involved, so we were trying to appease everybody. We did it in 60. With really no formal financing at all. I mean, it's a cash deal done in 60, and it was like that. It was like way too fast. like it should have been. I told him like we need at least 30 more days in reality, but it would have fell apart. And honestly, probably for good reason. So knowing what I know now, and definitely take your time. It does. If you're going to get bank financing, it's going to take a lot longer than you think it's going to take. It's a lot of documents. It's a lot of, better than I do because you do it every day. But I went through some SBA pre-underwrite. I had another business that was teed up 100%. I mean, we could have and would have closed on it. Owner got cold feet. So, I went through the whole process with that, and it was, it's a solid 90, 120 days for sure. So yeah, it's a ride. It's definitely not a quick deal. And the other thing, as far as just purely on the acquisition piece, is just the volume of deals you really need to look at to find a good one. I probably looked in depth over 70 deals to close one. So and I had either 4 or 5 that pretty much went the distance and fell out for right at the end for different reasons. But I don't think that's uncommon. I think that's super common. So I think people need to understand, like from the get go, like you're going to look at 50 to 100 to get it done. So
when you say went deep on them and evaluated them, what did you do? Like, take us through that process.
Yeah. So that's like full financials, Tax returns, all the financials, meeting times with the owner, understanding, several, obviously probably 20 phone calls, several in-person meetings, having clarity with banks on the financing piece for the ones that were bank financing. I had one that the bank was going to do it directly because we had a really good relationship and it was close to where I was living in North Carolina. And the bank had a good relationship with my other partners at the time. So they were just like, based on, like, we do this deal just based on you, the people we know, and the value. It had real estate involved, so the value of the land. Obviously getting appraisals on land and stuff, that's another 30, 45 day deal right there. Had a couple of them that got business appraisals done. That's an easy 30, 45 day as well.
And a lot full out at that point.
Yeah. At that stage. And then, like I said, I went pretty far down the road. So, and there's the other thing too, is like, they don't always die. Like sometimes they just get put on hold. Like I've got a couple deals right now that I'm still working on that are just kind of on hold. So if you got a long enough time horizon, you can be more creative and you can do more. But yeah, like I said, there's a couple of them I was really in depth with going through the business and the employees and understanding that. I literally had one, like, we were closing, like we had a closing date set. We were all in agreement, and he was cold feet at closing day. Like, we are meeting at 11 o'clock. I've not heard from you. What is the deal? Wow. And that was after that. That was 75 days in on that deal. The other one with the bank deal, like, we went probably 60 days on that one. Yeah. All of these going on at the same time too. So that's why when I say go back to, like, I had to free myself up. Like, I was full-time deal hunting. So you can do it without having to spend that much time on it. But I was wanting to do it quickly. And by me wanting to do it quickly, I went from February 1st wide open, because that's when I come back. That's when I went to Vegas. I did January, I did the online, went to Vegas February 1st, came back from Vegas, hit the ground running as fast as possible, and still didn't close until August. So 6 months, still wide open, nonstop to find, and still didn't get, the best of situations. So it's a little bit longer time horizon, sure. I know other people that did it faster, and there's situations where you can, but it's a longer time horizon for sure. And then as far as just the deal itself, you can be super creative. And it is unimaginable ways to do deals. And make, whether it's financing them, whether it's terms, whether it's partnering, whether it's consulting for equity piece. There's just so many. A lot of people look at it as black and white, and it's not. It's just, there's so much gray area to work in that can be really good for everybody involved. So the more people you talk to, the more businesses you look at, situations, you really can understand what fits. That's what I always try to do. I was like, what fits? And if what fits makes sense for me, then let's move forward. And if it don't, then let's not. I still have several deals sitting on the sidelines that I would like to continue with, but my time is focused here now.
I was going to say, you got to kind of, like you said earlier, get it running, step away, see how it works, and then if it's going well, move on to another business.
Yeah. A lot of people want to do a high frequency of deals too. And that's all exciting. Once again, it goes back to, like, what's exciting and fun. I love doing deals, but at the end of the day, like, if you do one good deal and then you do it in an industry that has room to grow, you can just focus your time on growing what you have. You buy a business and you buy the right structure, you buy the right, the people involved, everything. You can really just focus on growth. You don't have to go do a bunch of them. This truck dealership, we can make this as big as we want. Our competitors are, doing hundreds of millions, a couple of them in the billions of dollars a year. If we want to grow it to that, it's up to us. So I don't have to go do a ton of acquisitions to build something really big if that's what I want to do. That's not everybody's goal. But you really don't have to have, one time you got to have a high frequency is when you get in certain niches. Like Cody Sanchez is real popular and getting more popular, and like she like the laundromat
She's
stuff.
great.
Yeah, she is. She does a good job, and she's very articulate in the way she explains things. But like, yeah, if you want to do laundromats, stuff that's not you can't make a $10 million laundromat. It just doesn't work, right? So yeah, you got to do a high frequency of transactions and buying of those to make it big, if that's what you want to do. But depending on the business you get in, you don't have to make it big, or you don't have to have a bunch of stuff going on. You do one good deal, that's really sets you up nice.
I love it. So, what advice would you leave anybody with that's listening now is thinking about starting a business or operating a bit or growing their business? Like, give us your best advice for somebody that's just starting on their journey of entrepreneurship.
A lot of learning, just like I've been saying the whole time. So like, try to mitigate risk by learning. And then which I didn't even touch on, but obviously it relates because you're involved with it and you've helped me with it. But the financial piece, that's really the piece that I didn't touch on. Securing more financing than what you think you need. Every time I've done a business acquisition or even a project within my business, I've always undershot the financial needs of that project. And so I think now I'm finally learning to have more, have more than you need, just in case. And if you can structure it where you're not penalized for that, that's even better. So, understanding that just like there's a lot of different ways to get deals done, there's a lot of different ways to fund things, and you've opened my eyes to a lot of that. And then on my side, I've just tried to like study it and understand it. How do I apply it to my different situations? So definitely use those resources and make use of them because they're going to be critical to getting things going. One of the things that really put us on a stumbling block whenever we did start the transition here was that I didn't take enough working capital. It was available and it was there, and I didn't take it because I thought I was going to be able to, sell our way out of the type of thing, and should have took it, right? Should have done it. So,
worst case, you can always pay it back.
Right. Worst case, you pay some interest. So it's better than not having. I will 100% be a student of that.
Yep. Awesome, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on here. If someone wants a truck from you or wants to work with you or pick your brain, where's the best place they can find you?
For sure. Facebook's always the easiest, right? So, especially if you're looking at buying businesses in the metal fab and machining space, that's kind of stuff I like to look at. And then beyond that, just in general, I'm an open book. So I stay very busy. I don't give as much of my time as I used to have because I don't have it to give. But I always try to help people because every time I'm trying to do something, I reach out to people and people help me. So I just try to get back.
Dude, and you do. And I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, get in touch with Wesley. He's a good dude. I don't have bad people on this show. All right.
Yeah. Jonathan, you helped me out a lot. So like I said, this is the least I could do because I appreciate everything you do. And even just, doing the show and the other things that you do on social media, I've really retracted and kind of recluse away from social media right now. It's just, head down, plow forward. But, it doesn't go unseen, the things that you do. And it's appreciated and it helps keep me moving forward too, even when I'm not even though I'm not posting about it all the time.
I appreciate that, brother. That means a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys it's everything sunshine. Because you know what?
Right.
I actually operate businesses.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to step on Legos day in and day out and then go to bed on them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, man. Guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Wesley, thanks so much, brother.
Thank you.